All right. Good evening, folks. It's time for the People's Court and the Daily Report as well.
Oh, what I love the most about the People's Court is just the topics that we pick to discuss.
Yes.
And tonight we discuss water.
Oh, yes, indeed. Water is life. But it looks like water, this very, very essential and integral part of our lives, is under threat. In fact, they say about a third of all Kenyans are at risk of something we call water poverty. Can you imagine?
You know, and every single time we want to look at what is happening in the global stage and now argue that, okay, well, because it's happening at that level, we have no reason to worry, or perhaps even if we worry, we have no reason to point fingers and question and all that. But you know, most of the times when you're looking at these troubles, it's important that you reduce them to that level of the local level.
Absolutely. This is the reason we want to talk about tonight, the reason why there is less water coming out of your tap, the reason why you probably have less water coming out of your borehole, and the reason why you should be worried because a report that came out, very detailed report, says that in the next 10 to 15 years, we all who live in this great, beautiful country of Kenya will be suffering from water scarcity as a permanent level of day-to-day existence. Can you imagine that?
You know, maybe when I'm talking about water, sometimes I want to actually speak Swahili, and I want to relate it to, you know, my life, my own life growing up, and the fact that there was always water and fresh water for that matter. And now it gets to another level where it is a scarce commodity, like literally, you can almost, you know, relate and feel all this. I go to my mom's place, it's pretty much the same concern. You come to my own place where I stay, it's pretty much, you know, the same concern, and you probably say, okay, let me move from this town to this town so that we see whether there's going to be, you know.
Unfortunately, there'll be nowhere to hide. And that sort of conversation is what we're going to have. Tonight, we're talking about water. You see this apparatus here is a filtration device, purification device. We're going to be talking about this and others. But first,
the highlights.
Tonight, Juja Member of Parliament George Koimburi arrested and detained over claims that the government spent 13 billion on Raila Odinga's failed bid for the AUC position.
He said that his utterances, the verbal utterances, amount to the violation of Section 22, which deals with the data violation.
And Sudan's paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces, led by General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, plans to announce the establishment of a parallel government in Nairobi. Also tonight, today marks 68 years since Dedan Kimathi's execution. We speak to his family at his statue in Nairobi.
And one promise that we were given during that material day is that the government is going to use all the method to exhume the remains of Dedan Kimathi.
Also tonight, despite it being a basic right to all Kenyans, water scarcity is still a major challenge in many homesteads. We explore this on the People's Court tonight. All right, we begin our news in a moment, but first on sign language on the other side of the studio is, of course, Rhoda Nyamai. My name is Victor Muyakane.
And mine is Linda Alela. Lots lined up for you, so make sure that you keep it right here. The hashtag, as always, is the People's Court. We'll be looking at some of your comments as we get to proceed with the broadcast. And now straight to it. Straight to it, indeed. And Juja constituency MP George Koimburi was this morning grilled by officers from the DCI, but declined to record any statement. And of course, at this point, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, of course, came for him. And according to his lawyer, Ndegwa Njiru, Koimburi has been accused of crimes under the Cybercrimes Act.
George Maringa has more on a day that saw the legislator denied bail.
It was not until after hours of waiting that a section of leaders, allies of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, emerged from the DCI headquarters in Nairobi, chanting solidarity songs. However, just moments before this show of solidarity, Juja constituency MP George Koimburi had been whisked out.
That is a statement he has been brought here, and we have declined to record any statement, and therefore we have elected to remain silent. Most importantly is that he is being charged with offenses under the Cyber Crimes Act. He said that his utterances, the verbal utterances, amounts to the violation of Section 22, which deals with the data violation.
George Koimburi was reportedly apprehended outside his home on Tuesday morning. He is said to have been apprehended shortly after leaving his residence along Kenyatta Road in Juja.
The best thing is for them to hurry up. We meet in court, we oppose. It's a very frivolous charge. In fact, it doesn't exist in any books of law. It is intimidation. It should only be asked to clarify. And if he can be able to clarify, then that is his job, given by the people of Juja.
What you note about this process is that Mr. Koimburi is accused of saying something, demanding accountability for use of public resources. Even if that was to be true, then a member of parliament represents the people. The issue of speaking as regarding accountability is asking how money has been spent.
His arrest came after he claimed that the government allegedly spent some 13 billion shillings campaigning for Raila Odinga in the AUC elections, and that allegation has allegedly irked a section of leaders.
What we have witnessed today is the same tactics used by President Ruto to intimidate, to silence, and try to keep those who criticize him, keep them quiet so that they don't say anything. But I think, looking at the things, I think Raila's defeat at the AUC imeuma watu sana, au kwa serikali imewauma, and that's why they are now taking every single opportunity that they have to try to harass a member of parliament.
The National Police Service, or the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, are yet to issue an official statement. And yet again, another showdown looms in court as eyes will be on the outcome of the recent wars of Juja Member of Parliament, George Koimburi. George Maringa, TV47, Nairobi.
Right, thank you, George, for that. Now to another story that is likely to ripple the headlines across the country and the continent. The Rapid Support Forces, RSF, a sanctioned paramilitary group from Sudan, has declared plans to establish a parallel government.
Well, this announcement made right here in Nairobi at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, KICC, comes amid ongoing conflict in Sudan.
Now, as Eva Ruga reports, the RSF and several civil groups are advocating for a civilian-led administration, unveiling a peace plan aimed at restoring stability to the war-torn nation.
General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo's faction is spearheading this particular process and, of course, challenging the very same one that sits at home. And like you rightfully say, it is something that we'll eagerly wait to see how, of course, the entire continent will get to receive it.
Of course, with Nairobi, of course, setting the stage for major shifts in Sudanese politics.
Let's take a look at that.
Let's take a look.
To a civilian-led state, the country has been plunged into total instability, particularly in the northern region, this marking the 14th year since the state was formed. As the war continues in Sudan, claiming over 24,000 lives, a significant development has emerged. A powerful paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces, along with civil groups and human rights activists, has announced the formation of a parallel government fully constituted and aimed at ensuring peace and safety for Sudanese citizens. This declaration was supposed to be signed today from KICC, Nairobi County, but it was postponed to the 21st of this month. According to Deputy Commander Abdul Rahim Dagalo, who led the planned launch of the Sudan Peace Charter in Nairobi, the Sudanese armed forces have been deliberately withholding essential resources such as healthcare, education, and humanitarian assistance to the Sudanese people. Dagalo further accused the SAF of refusing to collaborate with international organizations to negotiate for peace and an end to the conflict. However, the group led by General Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo has promised to finalize the signing in 3 days. In April the year 2023, fighting erupted between rival armed factions in Sudan's capital, Khartoum, raising concerns about the return of full-scale civil war. The conflict is primarily a power struggle between Sudanese armed forces, led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the paramilitary group RSF, led by Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo. Both factions are fighting for control of the state and its resources. General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, however, refused to engage in peace talks mediated by President William Ruto, accusing him of siding with the RSF in the year 2023. The formation of a parallel Sudanese government on Kenyan soil could also put Kenya in an awkward position, just days after Kenya pledged 258 million Kenyan shillings to support over 30 million Sudanese people in need of humanitarian aid. Rugby, TV47.
All right, and still, around the continent, of course, beyond the country, a section of lobby groups, including the Law Society of Kenya, Amnesty International, and Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists, and Dentists Union have called on the government of Uganda to immediately release Ugandan opposition leader Kizza Besigye, who was abducted in Kenya last November.
Of course, as our reporter Samira Mohammed tells us more on this, the lobby groups have threatened to hold protests on Friday if the government of Uganda will not have released Besigye.
4 months following the abduction of Ugandan opposition leader Kizza Besigye in Kenya's capital, Nairobi.
5 years ago, the situation was the same. We saw both in Tanzania and later in Uganda, there was a lot of repression that was happening because of the election. And the safe anchor country was Kenya.
A section of rights groups have now called on the government of Uganda to immediately release the Ugandan opposition leader.
We call on the Ugandan authorities to immediately release Kizza Besigye, Haj Obeid Lutale, Aaron Kizza, and others who are unlawfully detained.
According to the lobby groups, the long-time political opponent and critic of President Yoweri Museveni went on a hunger strike last week and was rushed to hospital after his health deteriorated. The pressure groups have vowed to hold a protest on Friday if the government of Uganda will not have freed Besigye.
To condemn the detention and the continued holding of Dr. Kizza Besigye in the military jails in Uganda. And we are calling all the health workers, that is in Tanzania, in Uganda, and even in Kenya, and all the citizens, that it's not right to hold or to detain any person who is fighting for the rights. And for this case, somebody who was abducted in Kenya. We are saying that there are professional ethics that take charge of all the health workers. And in this case, it has been reported that his health is also deteriorating. He's also being denied access to health care.
The groups have also slammed the Kenyan government for enabling the abduction of Kizza Besigye in Nairobi last year in November, further calling on President Ruto's administration to take responsibility and call out the Ugandan government and ensure the release of Besigye.
We must condemn this in the strongest ways possible, and we must ask also our government, who actually played a strong hand in abductions of Dr. Besigye, to actually speak out and hold the government of Uganda accountable on this.
Samira Mohammed for TV47, Nairobi.
Folks, a somber mood has engulfed Lukusi village in Malava constituency following the tragic loss of 2 family members of the former Member of Parliament Malulu Injendi. His elder brother, Samuel Injendi, passed away, of course, on February the 16th, just a day before Malulu Injendi himself succumbed.
As if that wasn't enough, of course, the funeral organizing committee at his Malava home has confirmed that Malulu Injendi will be laid to rest on March the 4th, while his elder brother's burial is set for this Saturday, that is February the 22nd. Leaders from Western Kenya have joined family and friends that is in the process of mourning, remembering that is Malulu Injendi as a dedicated public servant and who championed the cause of education, as our very own reporter Mike Kagungu details.
Distress and agony engulfed Legosi village Tuesday morning as family and villagers mourned the deaths of two brothers. Malava MP Malulu Injendi and his elder brother Samuel Injendi. 80-year-old Samuel passed away while receiving treatment at the Kakamega Referral Hospital on February 16th, while MP Malulu Injendi died at the Aga Khan Hospital, Nairobi, Monday evening. The funeral organizing committee in Malava has announced that the MP will be buried on 4th of March, while his elder brother is expected to be buried this Saturday.
Mtoto mkubwa atatangulia kusika na mheshimiwa atakuwa nyuma.
Area political leaders called on their colleagues to honor the MP's memory in peace rather than causing violence.
Tunawakaribisha wote Malava, lakini tusikuje na vurugu ile tumeona katika matanga katika zile sehemu zingine.
In Nairobi, a section of political leaders from Western Kenya convened Tuesday morning to express their sympathies to the family and friends of the late Malulu Injendi at his South Sea Nairobi home.
Tuliingia kwenye bunge wakati mmoja 2013, tumekuwa marafiki na isitoshe bibi wake na bibi yangu ni madada.
Even when the deputy president came in Ikolomani and Nabaholo, he was there.
In his message, President William Ruto said Malulu was a towering leader who selflessly served the people of Malava constituency. The head of state said Malulu was a believer of equal opportunities, diligent, focused and devoted to public service. He will be best remembered for his passion for education. Deputy President Kithure Kindiki said he was saddened by the death of the Honorable Malulu Injendi. He said death had robbed Kenya of a dedicated leader and friend of many. Malulu has left behind his widow and 4 children. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Well, of course, sincere condolences to the family.
To the family, yeah.
And, you know, as well, the people of Malava.
That's right, that's right.
All right, so public schools across the country are at a risk of shutting down due to a severe funding shortfall that is crippling learning activities.
High school principals report that each student is receiving only 10,490 shillings, which is less than half of the expected 22,244 per learner.
And as our senior education affairs reporter Andrin Kilemi details, some students are missing out on funding entirely because their names are not registered in the NEMIS system.
6 weeks since schools reopened and principals are still struggling to keep students in schools due to lack of funding, while the Ministry of Education claims that schools have received 25% of the first-term capitation funds, school heads insist otherwise.
We expected 50% of the total amount, but we got less than 50%, which I don't know. I think it could be around, is it 16% or even 20, somewhere there.
In a document titled Operational Crisis in Schools, school heads have disclosed that aside from the delayed disbursement, some students do not receive any funding at all because their names are missing from the NEMIS platform, a web-based system that collects data from educational institutions.
The enrollment talks of 600. Those who are captured in NEMIS are 400. And that is what will be taken to those schools in terms of funding. For those who are captured in NEMIS only, can you tell me what will happen to the rest who are not captured?
In 2008, the per-student capitation was at 10,625 shillings. In 2015, it was increased to 12,870. And by 2018, the allocation rose to 22,244 shillings. However, currently, each student is receiving 10,490 shillings only. This situation has left school principals in a difficult position, with some warning that they may be forced to shut down schools.
We have tried all we can to ensure that we can contain these learners in our institutions. But at the moment, we don't think we are going to have them anymore, not because we wish, but because we are overwhelmed.
The delay in the disbursement of capitation has raised serious concerns about the quality of education in the country, even as schools are struggling to pay staff to buy essential learning materials, as well as sustain feeding programs. Andrine Kilemi, TV47, Nairobi.
The family of Martin Mugambi, a Form 2 student whose lifeless body was discovered floating in the swimming pool at Muyakane International School in Makueni County, is demanding answers.
Well, they are calling for a thorough investigation into the circumstances of his death, as it remains unclear whether it was an accident or drowning. Have a look.
Following the post-mortem examination conducted on a Form 2 student found floating in the Muyakane International School swimming pool in Makueni County, pathologists are left with more questions than answers. This as further tests are being sought to determine whether the 15-year-old's death was suicidal or homicidal.
Unanimously agreed that the cause of death is drowning in water. And the only question now we can't answer as pathologists is whether it was accidental drowning, suicidal or maybe homicidal.
Tumezoea sisi kama wanapatholojia watu wengine wanakufa kwa maji wakiwa wameshalewa. Lakini hiyo we don't expect that in a school, but it's always to be careful to check if there's any drug which was used, the boy or the student or the learner at any drugs within him. That's what we are checking.
The family of the deceased Martin has strongly denounced the school's narrative that he had complained of depression. In addition, they have raised concern over the school's refusal to provide them with CCTV footage that could shed light on their son's final moments before the tragic incident.
Our question is, what happened prior to drowning? And it is evident that the school management walikataza kuona CCTV footings from the word go. So that's where the story is.
Anastasia Mkabe, TV47.
Now, the World Health Organization has now sounded an alarm over the limited information on emerging health concerns in the United States, especially the recent outbreak of the avian influenza among dairy cattle in the US.
Well, the global health body has declared its intention to come up with a $50 billion in empowerment or endowment fund to enhance the quality of funding, as Elizabeth Atieno gives us the details.
The World Health Organization has revealed that it has not been receiving any technical and scientific information from the Centers of Disease Control in the United States since the 24th of January 2025.
And we have limited information about the spread of avian influenza among dairy cattle in the US or human cases. We ask the US to consider continuing its funding at least until solutions can be found.
CDC right now is not reporting influenza data through the WHO global platforms, FluNet, FluID, that they've been providing information for many, many years. And we have not had direct communication with CDC related to influenza. We are communicating with them, but we haven't heard anything back.
The sudden suspension of U.S. funding and the sudden disengagement of U.S. institutions like the CDC is also affecting the response to global efforts to eradicate some public health emergencies such as HIV, malaria, polio, and Mpox in African countries, including Kenya, which has so far reported 41 cases of Mpox.
There are limited waivers that have come forward to be able to allow access to life-saving treatment, including antiretroviral therapies, mother-to-child transmission.
Legally, the WHO Constitution and the UN Charter does not have a withdrawal clause in order to ensure universal health service delivery on the global sphere. Of the 194 WHO member states, the United States is the only country that reserved for itself the right to withdraw when it joined the organization in 1948, a reservation that was supported by all other WHO member states.
Only the U.S. made this reservation. No other member state then or since has made such a reservation.
The World Health Organization states that if a country such as Argentina intends to withdraw from the organization, the matter can only be decided by the World Health Assembly.
Historically, in the first decade of WHO's history, there were a few cases where member states, without a reservation, announced their withdrawal. However, these cases were not regarded by the World Health Assembly as withdrawals. The countries involved were regarded as having inactive status.
WHO now says plans are underway to come up with an endowment fund that is going to improve the quality of sustainable financing.
And the idea is for WHO to have a $50 billion endowment. And this could generate, as you know, endowments of 50 billion, for instance, can generate 3 to 5%, which is equivalent to 1.25 to 2.5 billion annually.
Elizabeth Atieno, TV47.
Victor Muyakane, this next story, I think we announced sometime last
Tuesday. 7 days ago, last Tuesday.
Compiled by Rugby.
Exactly. We announced the story just when it happened.
Yeah.
And now there's a
development
element
to it. And now heartbreaking farewell as Monica Wandune and her 3 sons, Jasper Kangere, Jaden Bogwa, and Jackson Dungu, were laid to rest at Kahuruko village in Kipipiri constituency, Nyandarua County.
Well, this tragic death, or rather these deaths, shocked the community after Monica allegedly took her own life and that of her children at their home in Githogoro near Runda in Kiambu County.
Their bodies were discovered by her husband, John Deshu, when he returned home from a night shift.
All right, now away from the tragedy to matters of justice and crime. And 5 officials of the Kenya Union of Savings and Credit Cooperatives, KUSCO, have been charged with stealing 82.8 million shillings meant for the purchase of a piece of land in Nairobi.
The 5 officials are George Magutu Mwangi, George Otieno Ototo, George Ochola Owino, Jacqueline P. Atieno, and Mercy Mudhoni.
Now, the court has ordered Magutu, Jacqueline Atieno, and George Otieno to deposit a bond of 10 million shillings with an alternative cash bail of 3 million shillings, as well as ordering George Ochola Owino, or rather granting him a bond of 7 million shillings with an alternative cash bail of 3 million shillings, while Mercy Mudhoni was released on a 7 million shilling bond with an alternative cash bail of 2.5 million shillings.
Now for accused number 1, that is George Magutu Mwangi, this is your bond and bail terms. A bond of 10 million with 2 sureties of similar amount, or a cash bail of 3 million with 3 contact persons. Accused number 2, that is George Otieno Ototo, a bond of 10 million with 2 sureties of similar amount, or a cash bail of 3 million with 3 contact persons. Accused number 3, George Ochola Owino, you have a bond of 7 million with 2 sureties of similar amount, or a cash bail of 3 million with 3 contact persons. Accused number 4, that is Jacqueline Atieno Omolo, a bond of 10 million with 2 sureties of similar amount, or a cash bail of 3 million with 3 contact persons. And lastly, accused number 5, Mercy Mudhoni Njeru, a bond of 7 million with 2 sureties of similar amount, or a cash bail of 2.5 million with 3 contact persons. These are the orders of this court.
Let's get to politics. A battle is unfolding in the National Assembly over the reconstitution of committees, with political divisions between the Kenya Kwanza Alliance and Azimio la Umoja One Kenya delaying the process.
Both sides are vying for control of key parliamentary committees, particularly the influential Budget and Appropriations Committee and the Finance and Planning Committee, which play a critical role in shaping the country's financial policies.
Meanwhile, the Senate is also in the process of reconstituting its committees, taking into account the broad-based arrangement, as our reporter, that is senior political affairs reporter Liz Mutuku, details.
National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula has reiterated that performance, consistency, attendance and committee meetings and active participation will be key factors in reconstitution of House committees. However, it might not be business as usual for former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagwa's allies. Sources suggest that they are set to be removed from leadership positions in committees across both houses. The anticipated purge is expected to benefit allies of opposition leader Raila Odinga, who are positioned to take control of several committees essential to implementing President Ruto's legacy plans. Azimio insists in controlling the committees as part of broader collaboration with the ruling coalition under the framework of broad-based government.
So if you're out there disagreeing with us and saying that you don't think that the decisions and the positions you've taken on certain matters sit right with you, then there's no use for you to continue chairing committees that will be processing the same business. That's why we have relieved of duties certain members who no longer share in the Kenya Kwanza dreams and the bottom-up economic transformation.
In the looming shake-up aimed at solidifying their control over Parliament, sources indicate that the committee's chairs targeted are not only criticized for neglecting their duties, but are also seen as close allies of impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Azimio is aiming to take control of 5 key committees, which include transport, energy, finance, health, and labor, in order to strengthen its oversight role. However, tensions have arisen with the coalition, particularly regarding the leadership of Public Accounts Committee, PAC.
So aware that under the broad-based arrangement, we have new political friends who now support us. They have brought in their expertise and ideas on how to make Kenya a greater republic. So apart from them supporting us, besides them supporting us out there, we feel that their expertise can be useful here in Parliament.
In the Senate, the game is not different, as sources indicate that Gachagwa's allies have not been spared, and those who have been axed and their spaces handed over to ODM include Roads Committee, currently chaired by Senator Karogo Adangwa, Agriculture Committee chaired by Senator Murango, Education Committee chaired by Senator Joe Nyutu, and Lands Committee chaired by Joe Medhu. Elizabeth Mutiko, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Liz. Of course, a developing story that will keep you up to tabs on as we continue. But of importance tonight, we discuss water scarcity, or better yet, water poverty. And we are very calculative with the words because, well, the situation continues to get dire, right here in the country and across the continent. Just why is it that we continue to grapple with the fact that, most of the Kenyans cannot access quality water, for that matter, for use, whether it's for cleaning, whether it is for farming, or whether it is for drinking, basically a roundup 360 approach to water consumption. And the question of the day, or poll of the day, would be then, is water easily accessible where you live? Yes or no? Is water easily accessible where it is that you live? Yes or no? Send us your comments. How do they tell us?
Actually, they can say yes, no, or sometimes.
Okay.
So you can send in your feedback through the SMS line. The SMS line is on your screen right now, 22047. You can also send your message through our WhatsApp number, which the producers are going to put on the screen. And you can also reach us on X, or formerly Twitter, at TV47 News Kenya, at Muyakane, at Linda_Alela. We'll be right back after these messages.
All right.
world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upward, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Welcome back. I think we need to say this again. Tonight we ask you the question, how is the water supply in your area? Is water, actually being supplied in your area? Readily available in your area, we ask. Is water easily accessible where you live? Tell us, is it yes, no, or sometimes? Send in your feedback through the SMS line on your screen, 22047. The WhatsApp number should be on your screen right now, as well as the Twitter handle also on your screen. But now we shift gears to other things.
All right. Health. Nurses under the universal health coverage have today organized a night vigil at the Ministry of Health headquarters, that is in Afia House, as part of their ongoing efforts to press the government, that is through the Ministry of Health, to address their demands. The nurses have cited their key demands, which include the immediate conversion of the UHC staff to permanent and pensionable terms, as well as payment of gratitude fee.
The nurses have expressed their frustration while calling upon the Ministry of Health to act accordingly. As of now, all health services have been halted at various facilities in different counties, and the nurses are set to continue until their demands are met.
Take a look.
Good evening, members of the Fourth Estate. Before you is a group of nurses in Kenya who have come here to present their grievances. Before I continue, my name is Stephen Rotere, the National Organizing Secretary, Kenya National Union of Nurses and Midwives. We are here to present, to express our dissatisfaction in the way a section of nurses who were hired in the year 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic to cover or to offer services, and they were promised to be put on permanent and pensionable terms after expiry of their contract of 3 years. In this case, we are here expressing ourselves that we are not happy the way these nurses have been handled. They are offering services at our national facilities, including county facilities, where the terms are not commensurate to their services they are offering. They are being paid lowly, poor pay. They are being offered 50,000 per month, between 40 and 50,000, where their counterparts are earning more of over 100,000. So we are saying we are.
All right, in other news, the family of freedom fighter Dedan Kimathi, along with other Mau Mau veterans, is calling on the current administration to fulfill its promise of exhuming Kimathi's remains so that they can give him a proper and dignified send-off.
Today, freedom fighters and family members participated in a tree planting exercise to mark the 68th anniversary since Dedan Kimathi's death, and the family has highlighted the importance of honoring his legacy as Kimathi led a group of Mau Mau fighters in their resistance against British colonial rule.
68 years later, the family of freedom fighter Dedan Kimathi is urging President Ruto's administration to exhume his body from Kamiti Maximum Prison, where they believe he was laid to rest. The primary reason for this request is to give him a proper and dignified farewell. In 2023, following the death of Mukami Kimathi, Dedan's wife, the government had pledged to exhume his remains.
In Lawrence, the former president who ruled Ghana for 18 years, the son is named after this gentleman here, Kimathi. And when we had a meeting with him last year, I was very excited, and he said he is looking forward to the day when he shall be coming for the burial.
And Kimathi said that he will not die. And what he meant is his spirit still lives. And we can see that with even this generation that never saw him.
On Tuesday, Mau Mau freedom fighters, their family members and residents of Nyeri County came together to mark the day by planting trees in commemoration of the occasion. Local residents also took the opportunity to remind the government about the need to compensate the families of freedom fighters who fought bravely against the British in the 1950s. The elders lost their land during the struggle and were never able to pursue education.
Ni mashamba ya ukoo wa watu wa zamani. Na hiyo ilikuwa ni kitu yetu, na hata kwa leo ni kitu yetu kwa sababu haikununuliwa. Sasa inauzwa na inauzwa bila sisi kuulizwa.
Na nilikuwa nimesema pia kwamba serikali ya ugatuzi ya Nyeri ambayo inaongozwa na Governor Mutai, tunaomba katika KFS tupewe ekari 50 ambapo tutatengeneza hifadhi ya wa heroes. Sio tu Kimathi, ni wengi.
Kimathi led the Mau Mau movement in fighting against the British colonial rule in the 1950s before he was captured on October 21st, 1956 in Kihagaine after he was shot in the thigh. In their book, The Trial of Dedan Kimathi, authors Ngugi wa Thiong'o and the late Githae Mugo say that following his arrest, Kimathi was charged at the Nyeri court with being in possession of a firearm and ammunition. According to their account, Kimathi was sentenced to death by hanging by Chief Justice Kenneth Kennedy Kona on November 19, 1956. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
All right, now over to Masters of Justice, and the Kibera High Court has denied Sarah Wairimu Cohen bail in the high-profile murder case of her late husband, businessman Tobe Cohen.
The ruling comes after the prosecution argued that her release could lead to witness intimidation and interference.
Delivering the ruling, Lady Justice Diana Kavedza emphasized that the case is of significant public interest, given the brutal killing of Tobe Cohen on July 19, 2019 in Lower Kabete, Nairobi.
Well, the court directed that Sarah Wairimu remains in custody at Langata Women's Prison until two key witnesses testify. The case will be mentioned, that is on February the 26th, 2025, for a pre-trial conference. All right, now to business. Nearly a third of repeat borrowers in the country cannot be credited or cannot be credit scored, putting them at risk of being locked out of digital lending platforms.
Maurice Minor, the CEO of a credit reference bureau, says that leveraging technology in credit scoring is the key to financial inclusion.
He emphasizes that better consumer insights will then help lenders assess risk more accurately and potentially increase loan limits for borrowers.
21 million Kenyans are listed on the credit reference bureaus, 5 million of whom are underserved, despite increasing appetite for loans in the country. This appetite mostly pushed by micro and small business owners who cannot list in the stock markets. To combat this, CRBs are employing the use of algorithms to score borrowers to assess eligibility and limits for loans.
Access to financial tool is essential and it is critical, but it is not enough to drive meaningful opportunities for the population. You need more than just access.
This as the percentage of non-performing loans from total borrowing in a number of financial firms exponentially increases.
In the end, for a bank, for a lender to extend money, you want to be cognizant that NPLs are high in Kenya. And for you to use this new technology, it must actually give you the ability to control your risk, as Joshen has mentioned, and to make sure that loans are in fact being paid. So there's proven experiences, and then one has to localize those learnings and see what it means for your organization.
If you think about the current financial sector and the role that the credit bureau play, the credit bureau play a central role in terms of financial inclusion, and the credit score is a key tool in ensuring that that happens. Any other efforts that move towards creating use of credit score and financial literacy in the market is complementary to what is already happening in the market.
The Kenya-specific model TransUnion has employed will integrate micro-lending and traditional lending data for a new credit scoring system that could be used by lenders. TransUnion CEO Maurice Minor now says the efforts put by the government to push data scoring from information gathered on the Hustler Fund could aid in decreasing the number of underserved groups when seeking loans. As the government continues to fiddle with the idea of using the data they collected from the Hustler Fund, CRBs are already taking the initiative and using this data to help the underserved within the community. Hibak Said for TV47.
Now, the International Water Management Institute is set to launch a 9.7 million research project to assess and audit Kenya's underground water reserves.
Well, according to Abdul Harim Said, the Institute's East Africa's representative, the unchecked expansion of irrigated land in arable regions is rapidly depleting underground water, and of course he stresses the need for continuous monitoring to ensure long-term water sustainability.
So it offers them, affordable energy for extracting water from groundwater and other sources, for improving their crop yield and then thereby their income. However, the key question is, how do we make the water is sustainable? Because the farmers, they don't pay for energy. Then there's a risk that the available water resource may be over-extracted. So we are partnering with Sun Culture to develop the tools and the strategies based on evidence, and then build capacity to ensure solar power irrigation is sustainable in Kenya.
But the question is, okay, where can I sustainably invest and to what extent? Because, of course, the downside is that you could overuse groundwater. We could over-extract if in certain areas the expansion is too vast vis-à-vis the availability of water resources.
Sports news brought to you by Maybet. Join Maybets leo upate free bet papo hapo. Fanya hivi, chagua home team to win, yani number 1, au draw X, au away team 2 kwa game ya siku ya free bet. Weka namba yako ya simu, weka password ya account yako. Chagua submit free bet. Utapata free bet kwa account yako ya Maybets. Usisahau kuverify account yako. Kama hutakuwa verified, utapoteza free bet yako after 2 days. Betting is strictly for 18 years and over. Play responsibly. Terms and conditions apply. BCLB number 0000578.
Maybet na minia na najishindia. Pesa inavutia, pesa inavutia.
Time now for some sporting action. And the Kenya Lionesses, the national women rugby sevens team, are gearing up for the first leg of the HSBC World Rugby Sevens Challenger Series set for March 1st in South Africa.
Our sports reporter Duncan Mutua has been following Coach Dennis Mwanja's squad closely and now brings us a report on their tactical preparations ahead of this historic bid to qualify for the HSBC Sevens Series.
After narrowly missing out on a top 4 finish in the 2024 Challenger Series, the Kenya Lionesses now face a tough challenge ahead, with Poland and Samoa standing in their way in the first leg. Drawn in Pool D of the HSBC World Rugby Sevens Challenger Series, the tournament is set to kick off on March 1st in South Africa, setting the stage for the Aztecs showdown. The Kenya Lionesses, hungry for success and more determined than ever, are ready to push forward in 2025, eager to break through and secure their spot in the elite competition.
I feel like the last 2 weeks that we're going to before heading to South Africa are like the most important weeks in any sports person, because it's the weeks that will determine how well you've been working and how good you're going to give the opposition a hard time in the field.
But all in all, in keeping our house keeping our house in order, we will reinforce our weaknesses and just continue working on the systems and believing in our abilities, having fallen short last year.
Their opponents are familiar faces to them, as a few weeks ago the Kenya Lionesses welcomed Poland in a friendly match at the RFUA grounds and toppled them 19-12. The win is a testament to the team's growth since its last competition clash, where Poland trumped 21-10 in the main cup semi-finals in Krakow.
We have played against Poland like in our Challenger Cup last year. We have also played them this year as the first pre-game before the Challenger Series. And I feel like us with Poland, it's always a rival game again. But we have learned a lot since we played last like 3 weeks ago with them.
Kenya also has a history against Samoa, having crushed them 31-5 in the Repcharge tournament at the Paris Olympic qualifiers in Monaco. These past encounters will provide valuable lessons as the team navigates their group stage challenges.
For Samoa, we met them at Monaco when we were going for the repechage for the Olympics. It was a good tournament. I say that they're also a good opponent, so we can't let our guards down.
Coach Dennis Mwanja is confident with this squad, and so are the fans. But he poses a question to the Lionesses.
All Kenyans from all walks of life are convinced the Lionesses, it's their time to get there. So my question to the team also is, do they want it as much? At the end of it, they're the ones who should want it more than all of us. So it's their time to play.
New season, new objective for the Kenya Lionesses. Now they aim to be part of the HSB Rugby Sevens. And for that to happen, they have to beat Poland and other strong teams. And Coach Dennis Mwanji is optimistic that at the end of the day, his squad will make him proud. My name is Duncan Mutua.
Thank you, Danku, for that. Now, the 2025 Magical Kenya Open Golf Championship officially tees off tomorrow with a pro-am competition at Muthaiga Golf Club right here in Nairobi.
Kenya has secured 5 additional slots in the prestigious DP World Tour event, expanding the field to 18 professionals and amateurs.
The Pro-Am tournament serves as a curtain raiser for the main event, which starts on Thursday, featuring 150 golfers from 30 countries.
This tournament, or rather the tournament's winner, is set to take home over 70 million shillings as prize money.
3 players, and these 3 players are going to hold clinics
with our juniors, our best juniors in the country, because they need to be an inspiration in terms of people who have gone through the journey they're about to go through. Somebody who's about 19 years or 20 years and is playing on the European tour, that will really be a very good reason for them to want to take up golf as a sport for the future.
Now, Football Kenya Federation President Hussein Mohamed met with National Super League clubs today to address key challenges facing the second-tier league.
Well, discussions that were focused on the question of logistics, prize money and sponsorship gaps, with stakeholders brainstorming ways to elevate the NSLS brand and attract partnerships.
This, of course, aligns with the Federation's broader vision of making football a commercially viable industry in Kenya.
We had a successful meeting with the NSL teams. Key on the agenda was, of course, ways we can promote the National Super League as the second-tier league in the country. There are a lot of challenges that these teams are facing, including logistical challenges, including prize money. They have no sponsors currently as we speak, and we were here to deliberate on solutions around these issues. We have also talked about match officiating of matches and how we can improve the standards. We have discussed in detail about how we will build the brand of NSL over time and make it more attractive for future partnerships.
I'm very glad for the fruitful discussion that we've had here today, and we are looking forward to implementing everything that was discussed here today, key among them being brand visibility for the NSL brand, where we have all agreed to work together. In as much as this is a competition, we have agreed to work together in ensuring the visibility for this brand.
And all is set for the Bingo Fest Coast Edition Athletics Showdown at the Shanzu Teachers Training College tomorrow after it was postponed from last week.
Now, this highly anticipated event will feature a star-studded lineup, including African Championships bronze medalist Joan Chirono in the women's 400 meters and sprinter Monica Zephania in the 100 meters.
And of course, in the men's 4x400 meters, Wiseman were leads. A formidable trio of Elkana Chemilil, Felix Kibet and Meshak Babu.
Of course, more than 5 million shillings as prize money will be up for grabs, with male and female athletes receiving equal rewards.
Bingo Fest has already covered 6 regions, solidifying its role in nurturing Kenyan athletic talent.
All right.
On the 19th of this month, we had to postpone because it fell on the same date as the National Cross-Country Championships, which are sponsored by Betika, and we would have wanted to give the athletes a chance to participate in both. So that will happen a bit later. That will be on the 19th of this month.
Sports news brought to you by Maybet. Join Maybet leo upate free bet papo hapo. Fanya hivi, chagua home team to win, yani number 1 au draw X au away team 2 kwa game ya siku ya free bet. Weka namba yako ya simu, weka password ya account yako. Chagua submit free bet. Utapata free bet kwa account yako ya Maybet. Usisahau kuverify account yako. Kama hutakuwa verified, utapoteza free bet yako after 2 days. Betting is strictly for 18 years and over. Play responsibly. Terms and conditions apply. BCLB number 0000578.
Maybet na minia na najishindia. Pesa inavutia, inavutia.
You know, Muyakane, on Saturday, there was a very nice feature about Wiseman Were.
Right.
You know, done by Boniface Kimanzi, right here, you know, just of his story on how he's managed to, rise up the ranks and carrying the flag of the country up high. So for a moment, you want to say why instead of Were?
Yes, you were right to call Were a wise man. And on that note, we want to shift gears over to the conversation tonight. And we are speaking about the all-important, I don't know, it's a commodity, it's a human right.
It's something, life.
It's life indeed. Our bodies are made up of over 80% water. We're talking about water tonight. And we're asking a question. How is water accessibility? Is water accessible where you live? Yes, no, maybe, sometimes. let us know. The SMS line is open. The WhatsApp number will be on your screen right at the bottom, and of course our X handle.
Right.
But we're about to take a short break. When we come back, we have a wonderful panel of guests who are experts, who have insights, who are going to help us break this down, because a report that came out recently has some very, very serious projections about our future as regards water.
Okay, and you know, there's already a question, or perhaps a response to that question. Alfayo says, good evening, water is not found at all. Emoji ya machozi.
And where is he from?
He's from Kisii.
From Kisii.
Yes.
Water is
like
not
our
found.
very own Alfayo Combo, you know.
Oh my goodness.
In Kisii.
Oh my goodness.
Completely hakuna maji, anasema hivyo. It's bad. Maybe they have to go to the river.
Right.
Sometimes hata pale kwa river, because of the climatic concerns.
You see, so for an area like Kisii, which receives a lot of rainfall, to actually, members from there giving reports that there's no water, there's something going on there. And that's one of the things we shall be talking about.
Right.
But please, guys, if you care about water, if you care about life, you better be here for this conversation after this short break.
All right. And to the other side where the guests are, we'll be coming back to you after that.
Right.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it, or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1. He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Welcome back to the Daily Report, and now it's time for the People's Court, and we're picking this conversation, well, based on what it is that we've heard you say, our very own experiences, but equally looking at this report by the Center for Science and Environment India, titled The State of Africa's Environment Report 2024. 2024 September is when it was out specifically, and which covered about 25 cities. The report states that Kenya is lagging in delivering water, that is, to its 50 million, that is, with at least a third of the population lacking access to clean drinking water. And based on your feedback this evening, we can almost confirm that this report did not fall far from the truth. Victor Muyakane.
Right, and because of this, we wanted to have a conversation about this very, very important subject. And to help us have this understanding, of course, we want to understand what exactly is happening. And we've brought with us to the studio some of the key stakeholders and key officers in this particular matter. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that we invite the following people to our studio tonight. Allow us to introduce them. First and foremost is the people closest to us right now. We have Mr. Dennis Mavia from the Bucket Ministry. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
I believe you're the National Director of the Bucket Ministry. Thank you so much. This is a charity that actually looks after helping people in disadvantaged backgrounds to be able to access clean water.
Yes.
Exactly, and later they shall be giving us a demonstration on the same. Also from the Bucket Ministry is Phoebe Wafula, the project director of the Kangware campaign for that organization. Karibu sana, Phoebe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, above there, we have another group of people. We have, first of all, Jared Owundo. Karibu sana, Jared. Jared is Executive Director of the Jubilant Stewards of Africa, JSA, an NGO dealing with water. Karibu sana. Thank you very much. Next to that, we have none other than Bernard Otieno, the founder and CEO of Langata Local Water Forum. Karibu sana. Thank you very much. You shall be telling us a little bit more about your organization and what they do. Next to him, we have Emmanuel Mutugi. Emmanuel is, of course, from QMist Water Limited, a business developer and entrepreneur in that sector. And of course, we have none other than our dear guest from the, I want to call this organization, the Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company. Karibu sana. The great engineer Nahashon Muguna. Karibu sana. Thank you very much for coming. Asante. Asante. And I think we want to understand the big picture. Would you care to, let's start with you, engineer. How dire is Kenya's water situation? What are the biggest challenges here? Just set the stage for us, sir.
Thank you so much. The water in this country, Kenya is classified as a water scarce country. We have around 500,000 cubic meters per head or per capita, which means every person is supposed to use around 500,000 cubic meters of water per year. Now, when you look at that, we are classified as water scarce country because the benchmark is 1,000 cubic meters in a year.
Okay.
So basically what the country needs to do is to invest in water harvesting, water storage and building of dams so that you can be able to increase the per capita of water. And that water can be able to be used for domestic use and for agricultural purposes.
All right.
Thank you.
There's also a question here that a lot of Nairobians will be able to resonate with, and that Nairobi's water supply has struggled to meet the demands of the citizens of Nairobi for years. What's the biggest bottleneck here? Are we talking about aging infrastructure? Is it mismanagement? Or is it that water sources are drying up? What is it, sir?
Thank you so much. Nairobi, for a long time, up to the year 2000, we had an installed production capacity of 600 cubic meters of water per day. That water was supposed to serve the population of the city up to the year 2000. Now, from 2000 to last year, October, we have never developed new sources of water for the people of this city. But by good luck...
That is shocking.
But by good luck, the Kenya Kwanza government, led by His Excellency the President, William Ruto, and the Governor of Nairobi, Johnson Sakanja, they were able to unlock a project which had taken over 10 years to do, the Northern Collector Phase 1, which was supposed to give us 40,000 cubic meters of water, and the Kalimeno Dam, which was supposed to be giving us 23,000 cubic meters of water per day to the city. These two projects were completed last year, October. And arising from that, we were able to add around 160,000 cubic meters of water to the city. And today we are able to produce 670,000 cubic meters of water, but against a demand of 900,000 cubic meters. So still we have a deficit of 200 thereabout 1,000 cubic meters of water to the city. But at least we are able to cover comfortably around 75% of the demand of water to the people of Nairobi.
Quickly, before we get to the other gentlemen, am I hearing you acknowledge that perhaps this water problem today would then be a problem of the leadership? Because when you mentioned that luckily under the current regime, this is what we have done in terms of, development. And, we have had other previous governments, and we're also looking at perhaps getting it to better levels. Would you say that then the problem that bedevils us today is a problem of the leadership? And do you guarantee the people of Kenya that whatever it is that you have done during this reign, then there's a possibility that the same will be done so that we even make it better?
Now, thank you so much. I've not said about leadership problems. The problem was actually acquisition of whereas.
Okay.
That's why that 6 kilometers of the pipeline could not be completed on time. The treatment works was completed 2018, but you have the treatment works in Murang'a, but there is no pipe to bring the water which you have treated to the city. Now, when the current government came into power, it was able to unlock, to acquire the whereas very fast, and the construction was completed rapidly.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. And just before we shift, there's a question, and I want you to answer that as we bring in our gentleman from the organization in Langata. If you have water for just about maybe 75%, as you put it, how do you share it so that everyone gets something? What are some of the mechanisms that you use to make sure that access to water, which is scarce, is equal to all, or rather for all citizens of Nairobi?
Again, thank you so much. Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company, which is a subsidiary of the county government of Nairobi, we have developed a water rationing program, or what we normally call equitable distribution of water, where we have divided the city into 4 corridors. And every 2 to 3 days, a corridor is pressurized to the extent that everybody who is in that corridor can be able to receive water. Having said that, there are also areas within other corridors which do not have good pressures, where we take water for emergency purposes, like areas which we have hospitals. They receive water 24/7. Also the universities, CBD, I'm sure you have never, you don't see water tankers in CBD. We have water 24/7. We have the military installations, which are critical installations for the country. They get water 24/7. And then the estates, we give them water twice or thrice in a week. And then people are encouraged to store the water they receive to use until they receive the water the following or subsequent week.
But even as we say that, and it's good that you've mentioned it, many of us who live in the city of Nairobi and its environs have seen these tankers of, the blue trucks carrying water into the estates, and it's a very common occurrence. And a few years ago, actually, and even a few months ago, there was a report that came out that some of these guys are actually getting water from the city. from the pipelines and stealing from the city to sell to the wananchi. Talk to us about the challenge of the rogue water suppliers.
Now, thank you so much. Generally, when there is a scarcity of any commodity, you expect evolution of cartels. Now, you only fight cartels through provision of the commodity, which they are smuggling. Now, with the increase of water supply in the city, I can assure you tankers have reduced in the city. And you will bear witness where you live, many of you are receiving water now, particularly the month of January, the month of February. Many of us who are experiencing water supply issues, they are receiving the water. With the cartels, we have been fighting them with the assistance of the national government. Actually, the national government set up a police unit to assist us to dismantle illegal connections, particularly in the eastern part of the city, where we were having people siphoning water from the companies' pipelines and then becoming very unruly when you go to disconnect. So the government has been assisting us with the police enforcement to remove those illegal connections so that water becomes revenue to the company, then we can be able to improve the services. What they steal meets a demand somewhere else, which we were not meeting through our pipe. It's not water waste, but we don't get money out of it. That's the problem.
Okay. All right. And of course, that sets the stage for, a very good conversation in relation to the same. I am told Engineer Joseph Kamau, the CEO of Athi Water, is on his way here. We certainly hope that he is on time before the conversation is out. But Bernard, we come to you. You're the founder and CEO Langata Water Forum. Just what triggered the need to set up this, forum? Is it because of the concerns that, the people of Langata have faced in relation to water? And when you listen to engineers speak, does it, speak any form of hope in terms of addressing the concerns? Or should we say that the Langata residents are at a better place right now?
Okay. Okay. Thank you for having me. Again, my name is Bernard Otieno. I'm the CEO for Langata Local Water Forum. It is an organization which we formed 3 years ago. The reason was to come up with the solution of how to settle the issue of water. If I can perhaps reply to what the engineers just said. In Langata, we have a problem, and not only Langata, but I think the entire Nairobi, because you find that, like you were saying, my friend was saying, we have water cannon all over Langata, and you find that on perhaps per week, people are getting water twice a week. So sometimes, if you question why are we getting that water twice a week, and then the issue always comes out, or the problem, you guys are working with cartels, so we are wondering who are these cartels.
Okay.
And we've been doing all our investigations to come perhaps to know the cartels. And from my finding, I came to realize that the cartels are across the board. The border, you find that from our end, yes, there are cartels, but from the other side, there are also cartels. Like these officers that are coming to help the community with water vendors. You find some of them, they even engage into this activity. So as organization, what we are trying to do as we speak right now, we are trying to advocate for at least for the resident to know their right, of which water is essential to everyone. And in our constitution, it is there. So as the government, rather the institution who are supposed to supply this water to this citizen, what are they doing, and what are the perhaps challenges they are facing? Can they share these challenges to the citizens so that we can know? Sometimes we can blame these people, but then there are things that they are facing, beyond which personally, or rather we as a community, we don't know. But as a community, we are trying to fight so hard to make sure that our citizen or rather our community get this water because it is our right.
And I would agree with that, because then we also have climate change as one of the key, concerns that has, perhaps disrupted the rainfall patterns and affecting, the flow of water availability. Quickly, do you suppose that this level of activism or creation of awareness or engagement is yielding any form of fruit in terms of addressing the concerns that maybe you say people used to get water 3 times a week or 2 times a week? At least it has gone to that level of 3 times a week?
Okay, initially, sometimes people are like, they can go even a week without that water. But then when we started raising this awareness and perhaps starting to, shout and doing our activism, at least the people in charge, they start now to distribute the water at least twice a week.
Yeah.
But it is still not enough, because you find to some areas, they are providing this water. And then to the neighboring areas, people are not getting absolutely this water.
Okay.
So you're wondering what is not happening. Why are you favoring? Okay, like people from Langata, or rather Kibra part of it, they're like, it's like you're favoring this other side than the other side.
Okay.
So what is not happening? And who are these? Personally, I'm like, we are here talking about the cartels. The cartels. Who are these cartels?
Okay.
And we've been trying to find out the cartels. Like I say earlier, we find that the cartels, you cut across the cartel from our side and then cartel from the other side. So as organization, actually I was talking to the engineer before we come on air that at least we want him, if it is possible, he can just take a tour or rather visit to those areas. Maybe I can pinpoint where these people, or rather where the problem is or rather are. So that at least we as Langata people, resident, can get that essential
commodity.
Yeah.
Okay, Jared, you are in the NGO world and sometimes helping people or communities out there with water. We have talked about the city situation, but then again there is the rural versus the urban situation. In your missions, of course, to sinking boreholes or drilling boreholes across the different parts of the country, what would you say is our biggest challenge in terms of making sure that this essential commodity then is accorded to the people?
Okay, thank you, Linda, and your colleagues for having me this evening.
Right.
Yeah, so one of the major challenges that makes us not have this commodity, just as engineer has said, maybe to start from where engineer left, is that whatever the level of water we have at the moment was meant for the population that was there maybe 20 years ago in the year 2000. Now, 25 years after that, we are still having the same resources. So, of course, the population has increased over the years, but that said and done, what the regimes or the current political administration, the previous regimes have failed to do is to plan and execute the plans. What they have been doing is to kutenga 50 billion, to kutenga 100 billion for particular projects, but it has never been actualized. So if we walk the talk, then definitely be able to do much as the wananchi, what will benefit wananchi. So the government has failed to put up an adequate infrastructure. And then the other thing, like yesterday, there was a report in one of the media stations where a couple of forests were being destroyed. So when we destroy the forest, we destroy the water catchment areas. Even before then, we had the Mau issue. That is one of the biggest water catchment areas in this country. So if we destroy the water catchment areas, basically we are destroying the water and reducing the amount of water we're receiving. The other day, I was in my upcountry, that is East to Kenya. Some of the rivers that used to be very, very big are now just small streams of water. So what has happened is that people have destroyed the forest around it. People have over-cultivated the land. People have burned charcoal, and therefore it has, and also they have also grown some kind of trees such as eucalyptus that have destroyed the water catchment areas. And those are some of the reasons why we are not able to have enough water. And then definitely the other industrial activities such as air pollution, industrial pollution has contributed the climate change that has caused us to have unpredictable weather patterns, and therefore people are not able to plan, and also we have been receiving reduced rainfall, and then also sometimes we receive a lot of rainfall, but we're not able to harvest because it comes at the time you're not expecting. Then our government has not been able to plan accordingly, not just the national government, even the county governments. And therefore I want to take this opportunity and advise or call upon the various county governments to plan for the people, you know, that they are elected by the people, for the people, and to be with the people.
Okay. You see, Muyaks, what is even the biggest problem is that even the little water that we have perhaps is not safe for drinking, safe for consumption and everything.
Right.
Therefore, I think we take a short break and then we come back and understand some more on water safety. Emmanuel there will probably tell us that perhaps they're always in the business of purifying water so that it can be consumed in the best way. And as well, the lady and gentleman here will be doing a demonstration,
absolutely,
as to that.
We take a short break. Folks, this is a conversation about our present and our future. The SMS line is on your screen. The WhatsApp number is on your screen. The Twitter handle or X handle is also on your screen right now. Please let us know what you think. Let us know your comments, your questions, and your feedback, and we shall be able to handle that in the conversation right after these messages. Please don't go away.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water.
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can take.
All right, welcome back. If you're joining us, we're talking about water, the basic right that is not so accessible to a lot of people. Now, before we went on break, Mr. Oundo here was talking to us about his perspective on the water challenges. But I want to bring in this gentleman called Emmanuel from the Chemist company. Emmanuel, first of all, where do you get your water?
Okay,
First of all, we have two sources of water from the taps, Imaji Kanjo. Then there is another source of water which is from the borehole. So each source of water has a specific type of materials, machines, and what have you. In my specific scope of business, we deal with borehole water, where we have invested in machinery, and we have a plant along Vika Road.
So we have some sound challenges with your microphone. Let's come back to you in a second. But back to you, Mr. Undo. There appears to be a challenge when, first of all, the water is scarce. But then there's an extra challenge of access to quality water for human consumption. Talk to us about, in your organization, and what has been your experience as to this particular challenge across the country. Where are we? How are we doing on this?
Just a particular amount or data on the quality of water or the sanity of water. So the only report that we normally receive is the amount of water that's distributed or a particular percentage, but on whether the water is safe or not. So the main challenge definitely, in most areas, like what you realize that people from who lives in urban centers such as Nairobi, when they happen to go to the western part of Kenya, so the water might be safe for the people who live there. But for you, when you come from the city center and you are not used to that particular water, it might not be very safe.
Yeah, people react to it.
Drinking, yes. So you'll be able to react to that water. And so that safety of water, I think, is what we should be able to look at. And some of us, maybe in the village areas, what I've also seen, you realize that people in the rural areas, they will dig boreholes or the shallow boreholes and they start drinking the water without having people who are certified to confirm if that water is safe for drinking. And if there's anything that needs to be done to purify that water to ascertain the safety of that water. And definitely there are normally minerals or some chemicals that are in water. And what do we need to do to ensure that that water is safe for drinking, for both human consumption and animal consumption? And even not every water is safe for irrigation. So we need to always ensure that we are able to test the water. And if there's something that needs to be done, there are many companies that normally do that water testing and satisfy when that water is okay. And they can also give recommendation what needs to be done to purify the water to make it safe for consumption.
Just on that point, a few years ago, there was a crisis, I'm sure all of you will remember, the Owino Uhuru crisis along the coast, where we had the community that was poisoned by lead poisoning, which was as a result of industrial activity, which poisoned the land, poisoned the water, and by extension poisoned the population of that area. People suffered, kids died, and others were deformed for life. Talk to us about how industrial activities and sometimes even farming activities, the modern farming with chemicals and so on, talk to us about the connection between that and the quality of water that people across the country are accessing. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So, well, the current farming has changed to what we used to have 10 years ago, 20 years ago. 20 years ago, when we were farming in our villages or in the rural areas of Ugenya, Busia, and other places, we never used to use the industrial fertilizer or the chemical fertilizer, the likes of DAP, CNN, whichever you're calling it. We only used to have the manure, the cow manure, or some of the lands were very virgin and they could always produce good maize or any other crop that you have planted without adding industrial fertilizers. Over the years, currently you cannot even plant anything without having fertilizer, the planting one, the DAP, the top dressing one. So what has happened over the years, when it rains, that fertilizer has some chemicals. So those chemicals go to the river, the water sources. They're able to contaminate the water sources, and that becomes dangerous in terms of consumption. So I think we also need to change. I mean, we want to take this opportunity also to ask the government whichever the fertilizer that is in the market, to ensure that that particular fertilizer doesn't have some chemicals that pollute the environment and also pollute the water. Leave alone that we also have some pesticides and herbicides that we use that are very, very harmful. And when it rains, that those impurities and those chemicals are taken to our water sources, and our cows drink that water, our sheep drink that water, and even some of us bathe that water. We drink that water. The same water, we use it to water our crops, and that we still consume that, and that's why we get this we get cancers and various diseases that we can't explain. Okay. And a study has been done, and also have done articles before on herbicides such as Roundup. And of course, I mention this boldly. I know Linda is looking and wondering whether that is legally right. There's a case that was won in California about Roundup, and Roundup has been banned in other countries, but we are still using in this country. Okay. So I'll also call upon the government to ensure that some pesticides and herbicides that have been banned elsewhere in the world, they should not be dumped here, and including some technologies, such as some batteries that we are using, and even these things that are coming with maybe computers, the lithium, that are very, very harmful to the environment and water sources, should be banned, so that we only have products that are safe for us in this particular country. And if we are consuming things that are not safe, then we are killing the posterity.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Now, before we shifted there, we needed to hear from Emmanuel, but I understand there's a wonderful demonstration here that we would like to see. And as Linda proceeds to set that up for us, Emmanuel, you were telling us about where you actually source the water. And talk to us a little bit about the challenges your company faces in getting this quality water, and what do you actually do to this water to make it accessible and safe for your clients?
Okay, thank you, Victor and Linda. Okay, from my scope of business, there are two sources of water. Either you get it from the Kanjo, the normal sewer line, or you can get it from the borehole. So in our company, we have invested in machinery, whereby we have decided to source for our water from the borehole, whereby we have bought machinery, we have set up a plant where we purify water through reverse osmosis in our plant, and then that water is stored in the tanks, and then we sell to other water vendors and supply to our own shops also around the urban area. Yes.
All right, all right. Thank you so much for that. We'll come back to you in a second. But Linda, take it away.
All right. I'll come back to Emmanuel as well to just find out whether how wanafurahia sahili watu hawana maji. Ama it's a different story because now it's business. But we'll come to you. We'll come to you, Emmanuel. Please, you'll respond to that. But, you know, especially in the informal settlements, when we're talking about water safety, you know, then we ask ourselves, fine, even if you're going to give these people water, just how safe is it for drinking? And the lady here, Phoebe, as well as Dennis, gentleman here, will be telling us what their entity does. But of importance, they're just going to give us, a slight demonstration of what it would mean for you to have this particular equipment, say, back at home. And then, of course, it'll be friendly or helpful for you to actually use, especially when it comes to getting drinking water or water for cooking. So, karibuni sana. I think mnaweza simama, feel comfortable. Quickly tell us what it is that you do, what your entity does. You come from the same entity. We're not scaring to a ground. And you also tell us just what it takes to make sure that, the ground aligns to this and they actually get help. So
thank you so much, Linda. Let me just introduce myself. My name is Dennis Mavia. I'm the National Director of the Bucket Ministry, organization dedicated and on a mission to sharing God's love through the gift of clean, safe drinking water. So just to put this thing in perspective, first you have to understand it's only 3% of water that's conducive for human consumption. Then out of that 3%, you find 1%, almost 40% of the 1% is contaminated. So, and contamination is through the industrial pollution, is through, sometimes you find weak connectivity among the water sources. So that has led to contamination. And when there's contamination, especially in informal settlement, you'll find people are dying for waterborne diseases, cholera, and all this.
Yes. So how does this come in handy even as Phoebe introduces herself?
Okay, thank you, Linda. My name is Fibu Afula, and just want to add on what Dent has said.
Yes.
There's a way whereby people are getting water from different sources,
right.
And you come to realize there are many ways that people are purifying water for drinking.
Okay.
That's why we have another method where we call as filtration, whereby you see that people are boiling water. They are also using water gut so that they can get water that is safe for drinking.
For drinking, yes.
But mostly when it comes to boiling, you come to realize we have some minerals that are being
lost. Yeah.
Yes, and also when it comes to using water gut, still you are going to use chemicals.
Okay.
And when it comes to filtration, we see that we are just separating the solid particles from the liquid so that some substance can get out. And that is what we call as filtration.
And of course, how affordable, how available, and all that will be coming to that. But yes, could we please just get to the demonstration of this very fast, in the shortest time possible?
So, Linda, I think...
I can just demonstrate shortly.
Okay.
There's a reason why we are using this soil to put in water.
Okay.
We have some places whereby they can't access clean water.
Okay.
So this one shows that the capability of this filter to filter clean water, whereby when it comes to areas where there's no filters, there's no clean water,
yes.
And you have this filter, still it can filter clean water.
All right.
That's
so maji chafu kabisa ya mchanga.
Yes.
So that soil is for what exactly? Ya kuchafua maji?
Kuchafua maji.
Okay, chafua
so that
tuone.
you can see there.
Mbona husema mimi nikuje na mchanga yangu?
Still is okay.
Okay.
So what you are assuming, Linda, is this is now, once Madam Director has certified the water, we are assuming this is what now people get.
Okay.
So imagine in rural places.
All right.
So this is what they get.
So at first, this is ini mchanga, like you've picked it from outside, eh?
Yes.
Okay.
Normal.
Mchanga normal, all right. So that is dirty water. That's basically what people are accessing.
Exactly.
And yes.
So it's just going to start vizuri.
Na mkono yako tena?
Mkono yangu tu ndio.
Imagine mimi nitakunywa.
Ikwe chafu, yes.
Okay.
Chafu kabisa.
All right.
Yeah.
So we are
and just also once it's filtering, this filter is capable of removing 99.99% of any impurities that are here.
99.99%.
Yes.
Proven tested.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it actually works as your skin. You can't see your skin, but when you sweat, you see water coming. So basically it works as your skin.
Okay.
And if you can clearly see, this is what is entailed in the filter. So here there are very small holes inside.
Okay.
That you can't be seen by naked eye. So what happens, all the germs are trapped from one side.
Okay. Yeah. So this is like how the filter looks like.
Yes, that is how it appears now.
All right. So cleaning of this filter and everything, what happens in the event that I have this at home?
We are going to show you now.
All right. Okay.
It's all backwashing, which is going to.
Okay. So you may clean.
Yeah. So
it is that fast.
Yes, that is how it looks now.
Okay.
Yours is coming, so
I am not sure. I want to. I am not sure. I am convinced. Hiyo umenawa ndani alafu tena mimi nikunywe.
Yeah. So it's very purely safe. Purely safe. It has been proven. So do you ask yourself,
what is the technology here? Because I am curious. Okay. Do I ask myself?
So what do you, like when the whites are coming? And I heard Jared saying when you go to the village, it's only that there are different bacteria in different environments.
Okay.
So when you carry this and you go to the village and you filter that water, you're not going to get sick.
Okay.
So that's why when you see whites coming, they always carry such things and they don't get sick. And
also they come with their baggage, that ends up being actually helpful.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So availability of this, I am curious, even as you continue to tell us, and I mean, when you say this is a bucket that perhaps you're going to go to Kibera with, or you're going to go to another informal settlement with, I mean, just how available are they for the people there and accessible for that matter? And just how many households can this particular one, serve?
So what we do is, first we do an assessment to count that's yours.
You can test.
I will test. Let's proceed. I will test. I will.
So the first thing we do assessment to count all the homes that are in certain informal settlement.
Okay.
So let's say we found 10,000 homes.
Right.
Then we have well-wishers that donate these filters.
Right.
But the bucket, so this filter is so basically this is how the filter works.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry, it's all right.
Yeah. So this is basically how the filter looks like.
Okay.
So I think, Linda, you're going to filter again.
Oh, so you're going to filter some more for me. All right, there goes my glass. Okay, probably about that.
So this is actually what the filter
looks like. Okay.
So, and this one is attached to a bucket. So the bucket I just procured.
One filter, one bucket.
Yes.
Okay.
So and then one filter goes to one home.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it's able to filter up to 1,000 liters in a day.
All right.
So basically, it can serve the entire.
So you should actually just let it be running, poly as it filters water for drinking, for cooking, and all that.
Yes.
Okay. So if it is salty water, does it come out still as salty water? What happens?
So for salty water to happen, there has to be energy.
Okay.
So basically, when you put salty water here, anything that dissolves in water is not going to be filtered.
All right.
So things like that's why we do testing before we advise people you can use from this source.
All right.
So the first thing we do testing, then we say this water doesn't have lead, it doesn't have all the minerals and all those lead and other things that can cause cancer. And also we advise, we do the testing, then we advise the community, don't use that because of certain elements that are there that the filter is not able to take them out.
All right, and as I allow for the other people on set to as well ask questions, I hope it is okay for me to just remove some of these things that are in here.
Yes.
Victor, the floor is open if you have any questions, and also the gentleman on the other side, in case there's anything you would want to ask. I hope then, of course, you have the chance to proceed and do so. But where is my water?
Yeah, it is.
I'm not sure I have the confidence to do this, but all the same, tuendelee tuone. Just how available are these in the country? Like Amatuni, those informal settlements, your story inaishia hapo?
Mostly we always consider the slums areas.
Linda, what does the water taste like?
It is actually, unasikia hiyo maji yenye Emmanuel anaita ya kanjo. Typically what during my times when I was just young, pretty much stayed in Nairobi and tulikuwa tunakunywa maji ya kanjo. You know the way someone comes to your home and they tell you, maji yenu ni tamu, mmepika na nini? Basically that. But you don't get that much of that nowadays.
Right.
So if tamu, like basically it's good water.
All right.
Tamu? Yes, you were saying something.
Okay. Mostly the well-wishers are the ones that always bring it. This is from this company called Soya Filters. So the way the well-wishers, they donate and they bring to the community. And mostly where it came whereby one of the missionaries was passing by and saw the supply of the water through the pipes, how it mixed with some dirty waters. That's when he said that I need to help these people.
Okay.
And that's why he came up with this filter process whereby to help the community.
Right.
And so far we distributed some in Kibera and we did the distribution of 81,700. That is the households that we were given to the Kibera slums.
All right.
So far we are in Kawangware, whereby we are now starting distributing to these people.
Okay.
Kawangware, we are hoping we'll be serving
It's double the
150,000 and some numbers there, homes.
Beautiful. Maintenance and all that?
So,
installation, is there anything?
So that's where we're coming from. So you've seen ours is a ministry.
Yes.
So basically ministry, there's a Christianity in there.
Element to it.
Yes. So this bucket also introduces us to, we are not just giving buckets and disappear.
Okay.
We want to create relationship with the people that we are serving.
All right.
So once we give once you get this bucket, so we always visit you 3 times.
Okay.
And during that time, we engage you in terms of spiritual aspect, just to also know how you're doing.
All right.
And also, once we have done that, and there's no electricity. It's just simple. Once you've like the way you've seen, that's what people always do. So once you put the water here, it just filters.
So it could just be set somewhere close to the tap at home and all.
Then when our missionaries go, like the volunteers, they also go and check if sometimes they are leaking.
Okay.
So that's how we do the maintenance.
The maintenance process.
But also we use that to spread the word of God, because our mission is sharing God's love through the gift of clean, safe drinking water.
Beautiful. Gentlemen, you have questions for
and maybe just to add on, this filter lasts for more than 20 years.
Yes.
So it depends with how you are going to keep
use it and clean it and make sure that it's good as well.
Yeah.
Any question? Engineer, is it making sense?
Well, we'll discuss with them how far it removes the microns.
The impurities and all that.
What they are removing, what I can understand, is what we call suspended particles in water.
Yeah.
But they are small pathogens.
When you remember when I was taking that water as well.
Let me interact with
engineer. Know whether they're in that water.
Okay.
I saw them removing water. It's bottled water anyway.
Yes.
Let me interact with Linda if you allow me. So we had this discussion earlier, and we understand the holes here are 0.11 centimeters in terms of. So basically anything, and jumps are like 2.
Have it up so that people can see.
Yes, like 2.0 centimeters there. So the only thing that can pass here is a virus and water because of the small particles that here it's only something that's very small that is allowed to pass here.
Right.
And if you see it, you can't see any holes here, but if you see the microscope, you're going to magnify and you'll say actually there are holes. So basically what happens, germs, pathogen, they are trapped on one side. So only what's allowed to pass is water and anything that dissolves.
So when do I get rid of all these germs and pathogens now that this is stationed in my house for like 20 years?
Yes. That is another step that I'm going to show you now, how to remove those germs.
Yeah, so
very fast, very fast.
Called, but we need to empty this, or we can just do the back.
We'll come back to you. We'll come back to you, of course. Gentlemen, let me read two responses from the people back at home. Shalin Washia says, good evening. In Bungoma, which is in a highland, water is not easily available to most people. We still go to the river. Florence Nyambura says, we last saw water in our taps last year, September. And then there is another person who says, good evening, Patrick from Ruiru. Water is accessible on daily basis within my area. But in Kitui, we have minimal people who have access to piped water. In some areas, the pipes were vandalized. And then, hello, my name, Jack from Kitengela. Of course, this is something different. I think it was in regards to politics. But yes, in Kitui, we get water once a week. Muyakane, over to you.
Yes, indeed. So I think we actually sent a question on our social media platforms to the people of Kenya across the different walks of life. And we asked them, simply put, is water easily accessible where you live? We have only 3 answers from people who say yes, that water is easily accessible. One even goes as far as to say water is accessible, but is it clean and safe? No. So there's a question here for Bwana Engineer. The question is this: how is the organization of the Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company dealing with the challenge of water theft? Someone is asking, how can you make sure that water theft is dealt with? Number 2, there's another question also from another viewer. They're asking, what are their plans to make sure that the shortfall of, you said about 200,000?
230,000.
230,000. Someone is asking, so thank you for telling us that you have a new plan for creating water in the country. I'm just paraphrasing. So what are you going to do to make sure that the shortfall is dealt with?
Now, thank you so much. First, how we are dealing with water debt. I said the national government has formed water police units to deal with the criminals who steal water, who want to eat what they have not planted. All over, it's connecting illegal connections. And at times, actually, arresting those concerned. I think on Monday we were disconnecting along Outer Ring Road at Uruma area. And tomorrow I know we will be disconnecting another area. So we are handling those illegalities so that we can ensure everybody pays for the water. We don't have non-revenue water. We know when you steal the water, unless you export it, it's meeting a certain demand in the city. But we want money so that we can be able to improve service, so that we can be able to be sustainable, so that we don't borrow loans to do our infrastructures. We use the revenue we generate internally. Now, when we come to the shortfall of water supply to the city, it is true we have a shortfall of around 230,000 cubic meters. Of course, that shortfall grows at 20,000 cubic meters every year because of population growth.
Yes, indeed.
Now, there are plans to do Northern Collector Phase 2, which is tapping water from North Madhyoya, Embe, Kithuki, and South Madhyoya. Then you bring that water to thicker dam again and have another plant. Actually expand the new plant which was done under phase 1 of the northern collector. That system will give us around 120,000 cubic meters per day. Then we have a plan to do the Maragua 4 dam along Maragua River. The national government is sourcing for funding so that those 2 programs can be done. Maragua Dam will give us 130,000 cubic meters. So the total is 250. At least you can see if you do that within 5 years, you will be able to meet the demand. The demand and the supply will merge. Then there is the Ndarugo Dam, which is at the confluence of the Rugo River and the Com River, just below Thika town, which is supposed to produce 216,000 cubic meters when completed. But the priority is Northern Collector Phase 1, Phase 2, and Maragua Dam, Maragua 4 Dam, so that we can be able to meet demand and the supply in the next 5 years.
Okay.
And that's those programs are in the pipeline.
All right.
Through the national government.
Okay. We can see that, and clearly, I think the gentleman who was asking the question has been answered. I have another question now to all of you as the team up here prepares to wind up with the demonstration. If you had one thing to say, I mean, obviously the issue of Nairobi and water is, and the country and water is bigger than any time that we may have. I mean, this is actually your work, to do it every day to make sure that this is done. And still, there's work to be done every day. So if I may ask all of you across the board, what is the one thing you would change to make sure that Kenya, and indeed where you come from, has access to clean, safe water regularly? What's the one thing? So we start with you, Mr. Oundo, and then we'll go to Emmanuel as you proceed.
Victor. One of the things that I'll advise, if you're in a place like where we come from, like Inungo village in East Ugenya, the water levels down are not very far. I encourage you to dig a shallow borehole, like 30 meters feet. Then after you have done that, look for companies, private companies, if the government is not available to help you, such as Aqualytics Laboratories Limited. Many of such companies that are there, they are actually, I think such one, like Aqualytics Laboratories Limited, they're based at Ramco Court in South Sea. They'll do for you testing, they'll test the water for you. They'll advise whether the water is safe for you to drink. And if maybe you are not in a position to even be able to dig such a borehole, I know there are companies that are able to even finance you, such as Media Capital Limited. They're able to finance you to do what? To be able to dig a shallow borehole, and even in places like Kibwezi, where you have to go 200 meters down, they are also able to support you. So there are many other companies that are able to support you. So that is one of the things that you can do. We should not be crying like the government do this. Rekali's idea. Remember what Kibaki said? You should also ask yourself, the government is supposed to do this. What can I do for the government?
All right.
So if you're able to dig such a borehole, then you're also able to support over 10 or 20 households, and you'll be helping the government.
All right. Emmanuel, your point, quick, fast, if you can.
Okay. First of all, I would like to put it in record that I'm a beneficiary of the topic that we're having tonight, digging a shallow borehole. I believe digging of boreholes is quite expensive, and not all Kenyans can be able to afford. So my statement for tonight is, my issue, I'd like to say, put it like this. I would wish for more entrepreneurs to come up and provide water solutions, because as much as we are getting water from the Kanjo, is not, they use chlorine, which is inexpensive and effective. But we need more measures to make our water more safe and quality for our people. Yes.
All right. Thank you for that. I'm sorry, my producer is telling me we're running out of time. So the next speakers, please, let's keep it real quick. Bernard, quick as you can. One thing that you would advise, please, quickly.
On the institution that is dealing with water, to at least perhaps, these cartels that we are talking about, what can we do about the cartels?
Cartels.
What can we do? The issue is, we want at least 1 or 2 of them to be arrested so that our problem can be solved once and for all.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Engineer, please.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Quickly, please. I'm sorry.
First of all, is actually the national government has gotten money for the Northern Collector Phase 2 from South Korea. That's His Excellency the Governor for Nairobi and His Excellency the President of Kenya. They've gotten 14 billion Kenya shillings to do that program. So it's in the pipeline.
Okay.
The second thing for Langata areas, because the water pipeline which gives them water in Langata estates passes through Kibela, where Kibela is lower than Langata. So if we open the pipes which give water to Kibela, water does not go to Langata. We are changing the way we are supplying them water. We are laying a pipeline from Bomas of Kenya to Langata estates. That's Otiende, Gei,
and the others.
And the others there.
Yes.
So in the next 3 months, they'll have plenty of water 4 days in a week.
Okay.
Good news.
All right.
Now, the next thing
please,
is what I'll urge the county government, the national government, is to construct dams.
Dams.
To harvest land of water.
When it rains.
In the world which do not have rivers. What they have is valleys.
Okay.
Where they harvest the water when it rains.
All right.
That water is used for both domestic
and commercial and industrial use,
Okay. So county governments should be encouraged to set at least $1 billion or $500 million every year for a construction of a dam.
Okay.
In 5 years, you have maybe 1 dam in a county. Every county a dam and dam and dam. You solve the problem of water.
Right.
You alleviate poverty.
All right.
You solve the issues of poverty.
Thank you very much. That's a good challenge to all our county governments. Try and construct a dam, at least a dam a year, and we'll go a long way in dealing with this. Thank you, gentlemen, for the views. Look, we're completely out of time. We may not be able to see the demonstration. I want you to say one thing.
Leaders should create my own time. One of these fine days, we come back to it.
We will definitely come back. Clearly, this is a conversation that's bigger than our time, so we must come back. Water is life. We will come back to give each other this conversation. One word, please. What would you say?
Water is life, and let's have eternal life.
Okay.
I love that. What about you?
For me, it's let's educate the masses on how rare this commodity is. Because if we provide all the resources and people don't know how to manage the resources that we have, then we'll all go to square one.
So having water is one thing, managing it is quite another.
Yes.
That's a conversation, hopefully for another day.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. For those of you who are at home, who have sent in your feedback, thank you so much. We may not be able to sample all of them. Thank you so much. May God bless you. Good night.
Good night.